in being open to new opportunities. In contrast, a scarcity mindset is driven by the belief that resources are limited. This leads to competition, fear, and a focus on what's lacking. People with a scarcity mindset feel threatened by others' success and are often stuck in negative thinking patterns. To develop an abundance mindset, start by reframing negative thoughts and practicing gratitude. Embrace a growth mindset, which involves believing in the potential for personal development through effort and learning. Surround yourself with positive influences and set clear, actionable goals that align with your values. By cultivating an abundance mindset, you can enhance your financial and personal well-being, creating a more fulfilling and prosperous life. This approach not only promotes individual growth, but also fosters a collaborative and positive environment for all.
Yeah, you want to kick us off? In your book, The Big Leap, you explore concepts like upper limit problems. How do these psychological barriers intersect with a scarcity mindset?
Well, most of us learn kind of by osmosis certain beliefs about life as we grow up. And a lot of these beliefs are already in place by the time we pick up our little lunchbox and teeter off to kindergarten when we're 5 years old. So a good example in The Big Leap, I identify 3 or 4 key limiting beliefs that I've found in people, even highly successful people I've worked with, like CEOs or award-winning actors and things like that. We almost all seem to come into certain limiting beliefs. And the biggest one that affects so many people is a general belief that I don't deserve to have the good things of life, like love, abundance, good times, good health. There's some belief inside that says, I don't deserve that. A second belief that I've uncovered in even very successful people is the belief that I don't deserve to be in the spotlight. It's okay for me to be on the sidelines helping somebody in the spotlight, but I, for one reason or another, don't deserve to be the star of my own life. And that's a particularly troublesome one, because almost always as you begin to be more successful in life, you get called upon to be more public about it. And I remember after I wrote my first book, which now goes back 50 years ago, I went out to give my first professional lecture that was based on the book. And after it was to a group of 150 teachers. And afterwards, a guy came up to me and he said, I just wanted to thank you for your presentation. And oh, okay. And he said, it wasn't so much what you said, it was how you said it. And I said, what do you mean by that? And he said, well, your voice shakes just as badly as mine does when I try to speak in public. And so I've come a long way, fortunately, since then. But no matter where you are, where you start, there's got to be a point where you say, okay, I can transcend these limitations. And that's what The Big Leap and other books I've done is all about.
That compliment will make you think a little bit. Noah, how can affirmations help somebody to dismantle these long-held scarcity beliefs? And how do you replace them with thoughts of abundance?
Well, absolutely. As you mentioned in your introduction, I'm actually the father of AFFORMATIONS, not affirmations. Just to let you know, we're using a new word here. It's AFFORMATIONS, AFFORMATIONS. That's something I invented 30 years ago. It's a methodology of using empowering questions rather than statements. As a keynote speaker and an executive coach, I do presentations for teams, companies, organizations all across the country and around the world. And everybody that I've ever met or spoken to has heard about affirmations because that's what we've been taught for decades. Back in 1997, I invented this methodology called AFFORMATIONS that I just showed you. And it's about using the embedded presupposition factor of the brain, which is just a fancy way of saying that when you ask an empowering question, your brain searches for the answer. So instead of saying something like, I'm happy, I'm rich, I'm successful, and your brain goes, no, you're not. right? I invented instead the process of affirmations, which is asking empowering questions like, why am I so happy? Why am I so successful? Why am I feeling so great today? Now, when you ask an empowering question, what it does is it immediately changes the subconscious thought patterns in your brain. And this is something I've been teaching my clients for over 30 years. And so we have so many stories of people who have made more money and started their business, grow their business. I had one client who went from $60,000 in debt to a six-figure income in less than 12 weeks, and many, many stories like that. So that's how powerful this my affirmations method is. But hey, if you like affirmations, you can keep using them. But for those people who are frustrated with their old way, the affirmation way, you can always try the new way, which is affirmations.
Okay, so today we'll be talking affirmations. And
Why not?
sounds good. Rachel,
works.
in your life, you've had to break free from survival mode. Can you share how did shifting to an abundance mindset help you move from surviving to thriving?
Yeah, I would love to. Well, first, I started out having to recognize that I was in survival mode and that survival mode wasn't the methodology or the way that I wanted to teach my kids to do something. There's nothing quite as powerful for at least me, and I know many others, than what type of legacy am I going to leave behind. So for me, switching the mindset from survival to abundance meant that I first had to recognize where I was coming from, and then I needed to actually take kind of control of the thoughts that I was having. I wasn't trying to make it do. There was always an opportunity. That was one of the biggest things I shifted, would be thinking, could anybody in my situation, that could somebody in my situation who has the same resources, same mindset, could they figure a way to thrive in this, not even to get out? And switching it to, is it possible, changed it from there's no possible way. And that little subtle shift of wondering, of it's, I love that question thought of, I wonder what I could do, helped me move from surviving to completely to thriving, and then to wondering what's next that I can do.
And have you seen, not only in your own life, but you've seen that in your Finding Joy community too?
Definitely, definitely. What I like to say is that finding joy is something that is a choice. It's a conscious choice to look for something good in the circumstances that you're in. It doesn't mean that life is perfect, but when you choose to look for joy, when you make that choice, then you're actually opening up other doors. You're allowing your brain to see that there's a possibility. And I believe over the last 15 years that I've been writing, I've been spreading this message of, let's look for something good. And when you start to seek that in the crevices of life, then that looking for good, looking for opportunity gets larger.
Hmm. Cliff, you have come from a place where this could be viewed as woo-woo or nonsense. Can you share a story from your own life where adopting an abundance mindset really like drastically changed the outcome of a challenging situation for you?
Sure. So first of all, back when I was first introduced to materials in the self-help, personal and professional development category, I came from an upbringing where everything that was opposed to what I was brought up with seemed woo-woo. And I can tell you right now, on the other side of a lot of growth and expansion of my old beliefs, I have come to embrace all things woo-woo. I think there's more in the metaphysical world that we don't understand in our physical reality, that I have fully understood that the pattern of our thoughts creates our reality. And so for me, I used to struggle with all sorts of scarcity mindset related things, such as there's never enough money, there's only so much to go around, you have to work hard for your money, and if what you're doing is not difficult, if it's not challenging, if you have not worked hard, if there hasn't been a bit of pain, then you're not worthy of the gain. I had a lot of limiting beliefs about adding value and receiving any form of wealth, whether it's monetary or otherwise. I felt like I had to be in action, and I had to do and perform to be worthy of anything good. And so it left me with a lifetime of uh, ups and downs of my energy levels, burning myself out, working so hard that I'm burning the candle at both ends of the stick, only to suffer a lot of health consequences and mental consequences and relationship consequences as a result of it. And when I finally said, you know what? Okay, I'm going to start reading books like Think and Grow Rich, and I'm going to read ultimately books like The Big Leap. Gay's on here, and one of my favorite questions, I got so angry at Gay when I read this one question: are you willing to have your life go well and feel great all of the time? And I'm like, what a stupid question. Of course, I'm not worthy of that. That's not even possible. And I struggled with that question, that I literally set the book down and said, I'm not going to do anything. And that question wouldn't leave me. And what happened, the biggest change, the mindset shift for me, was that I realized, he wasn't asking, are you willing to make that commitment right now? He simply said, and I had to go back, if it were possible, would you be willing? And I'm like, oh, wait a second. And the answer was still no. The answer was still no. And I'm like, why? And that opened up all sorts of things. And then all of a sudden, I began to expand. Is it possible? And then all of a sudden, it's not only possible, but I think it is actually the way that I'm called to live. And then eventually I got to the place that, yes, if it were possible, yes, I am willing to feel good and have my entire life go well. And then I also, over the next 3 months, made it all the way to the place where I am absolutely fully committed to feeling good and having my entire life go well. And I've experienced that mindset of abundance ever since.
Mm.
I see Gay applauding.
Yes, I'm really pleased. I love hearing stories like that. I always say I have the best inbox in town because every day I get people send me stories like that about how they went from one place to another by applying one of the principles. And I'm my own best customer with the Big Leap. I thought about this stuff for 30 years before I sat down and wrote the book. I was lucky though. I was sitting next to a kid when I was 14 years old. I tell about this in a book I wrote called Conscious Luck. I was sitting next to a kid that I called Danny, and he was in my class, but I didn't know him real well. And we were at a movie, and I don't know, for some reason they were having a drawing, and it was a full house, and so there was like 250 people there, and they put all of our tickets with our names in it into a goldfish bowl, and they were going to draw 3 prizes, and the top one was a wristwatch. Was a pretty cool thing in 1959, a wristwatch. Wow. And so Danny nudged me and he said, watch this, I'm going to win one of the prizes. And I said, what? Anyway, they went right into the drawing. He won the wristwatch. And afterwards I said, how did you do that? And he said, I just made up one day that I'm one of the lucky ones in life. And I remember thinking, you can do that? And he said, yeah, it's real easy. You just do it by changing your thoughts. And I don't know where he got this crazy idea, but I just did it right there in the moment. I decided, okay, I'm going to be one of the lucky ones, because there's lots of smart people around, but there's not a lot of people around that are both smart and incredibly lucky. And so if you're going to work on some dimension of life, open up a dialogue with making yourself luckier too, as well as making yourself more loving, more generous, and more grateful.
That is very cool. Unconscious luck. So we're going to go to segment 2 and talk about transformative mindset practices.